We are officially in the dog days of summer, so we're continuing to look back a little bit on last year and ahead to next year. We got a two-parter this week to start us off with a special guest, Fawzan Amer. It's time to dive into the playbook on Locked On Magic.
You are Locked On Magic, your daily Orlando Magic podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
And you are indeed Locked On Magic. Today is July 24th, as you're probably listening to this, 2023. My name is Philip Rossman. I'm the expert and site editor over at OrlandoMagicDaily.com. Of course, follow us there on Twitter at Magic Daily. Follow me on Twitter at PhilipRR_OMD. On today's episode of Locked On Magic, we're going to talk to Fawzan Amer of the Sixth Man Show. He does a lot of great playbook posts on his Twitter account, as well as for the Sixth Man Show. We're going to dive a little bit into the Magic's playbook over the last 2 days, kind of evaluate what we saw from the Magic's rookies, what they bring to the table, and then dive into a little bit about the overall philosophy and identity of who the Orlando Magic are. It's going to be a really fun 2 days of podcast here that we're going to really dive deep into this playbook. So I'm really, really excited to share this episode with you since I recorded it last week before everything got super, super busy. Before we get any of that, though, I want to thank you all again for making Locked On Magic part of your day every day, no matter when you listen to us, whether it's first in the morning, whether it's right when we upload. We truly appreciate you making Locked On Magic part of your day every day. Remember, there's a great Locked On podcast covering every single team in the NBA. Just search for Locked On and the team you're looking for, the Locked On Podcast Network. It's your team every day. Today's episode is brought to you by PrizePicks. First-time users can receive a 100% instant deposit match of up to $100 with promo code LOCKEDON. That's PrizePicks.com, promo code LOCKEDON. Before we dive into our podcast with our special guest today, I just want to quickly address the news that came out over the weekend that Jamal Mosley is going to be the coach of the U.S. Select Team for U.S. Training Camp, as well as the Magic signing Admiral Schofield to a two-way contract. You get my initial thoughts on these on OrlandoMagic.com. I am going to give them their due attention. We're just going to wait till Wednesday to talk about those. Just the nuts and bolts of it, though. Admiral Schofield is a really good guy to have around. He's a versatile player, knows the Magic system really well. We know this is a team that really values its continuity. And so keeping Schofield around another year certainly helps with that. And then as far as Mosley being the coach of the select team, this is an incredible opportunity. And for me, as I wrote on OrlandoMagicDaily.com, it signifies that someone thinks something's going right with the Magic's rebuild. Look, Jamal is a great coach. He's a great connector. He's a great leader. He's been in that USA program before. He's going to help a lot of guys get better and show a lot of people around the league what makes the Magic special. We're going to dive into more of that on Wednesday, but I want to get to our guest, Fawzan Amer. He does all these great playbook posts throughout the season for the Sixth Man Show, as well as on his Twitter page. So we're going to chat today about all things Orlando Magic, what we saw from the team last year, and how they continue to build moving forward. It's coming up next here on Locked On Magic. And I am joined now by Fawzan Amer of the Sixth Man Show. You probably follow him on Twitter. If you don't, you probably should, because Fawzan does a really good job breaking down plays and kind of showing us the tape of what this team is doing and what this team is trying to do. And so now that Summer League is over, I wanted to try and just get a sense of what direction the Magic are going. So before we do any of that, Fawzan, how you doing, my man?
I'm doing good. I appreciate you for bringing me on. For those who don't know, I'm actually making my podcasting debut, so kind of got my juices flowing a little bit. My adrenaline's kind of pumping, but I'm excited to be on.
Yeah, no, don't worry. This is just a free-flowing, just very cool, calm conversation. You don't need to worry about anything, and I'll edit some stuff on the back end anyway. So if we make mistakes, the viewer, it will be none the wiser. Fawzan, I just want to let's just start with the basics and with the basic news that we have of the day, and that is Summer League. We got a healthy dose of Anthony Black and Jett Howard. 3 games with them. We probably don't need to talk about much else from Summer League, but let's just start there. what were your impressions of Anthony Black and what he can bring to this team in general and what we saw from Summer League?
Yeah, no, I think a lot of fans, first of all, were completely baffled by the pick, Anthony Black at 6. Personally, I wasn't. A lot of the 520 start that they had, I don't want to pinpoint exactly the areas, but Markel Fultz being down, Jalen Suggs being down, that was a big area of need for them. And just having those bench sparks that can come in and provide not only offense, but facilitating offensive schemes, plays, is such a big component in today's game that just kind of gets shuffled under the rug at times. And we kind of saw flashes of it with Anthony Black pushing the pace against multiple times in half court. That play that he had in the Indiana game, he's coming down the court, he's reading the court. His processing speed is just unreal. It happens in a moment's notice. And he was connecting on passes to Caleb Houston in the Pistons game, the Pacers game. I mean, his passing was definitely on display. So that was a big component for me. The negative aspect of Anthony Black's game is that jumper, obviously. But I felt like when he wasn't thinking about the jumper, it was hitting. He had the 4-point play his first game, and he wasn't thinking about that 3-point shot at all, and it fell. And then he had a move on Asar Thompson, I think a bit earlier in that game, and he just pulled up for the mid-range and he completely drained it off a sidestep jab. And I think when he's not thinking about his shot, it just feels more smoother and not as forced.
Yeah, I think there's something to that. Again, it's very much a rhythm thing. Like, his jump shot's still a work in progress, and that's going to be kind of the big storyline of the early part of his career, at least. But I think just generally that whole idea of thinking was kind of the big theme of his summer league. A lot of people are pointing out that he had 12 total turnovers, 4 turnovers per game. But of course, 7 of them came in that first game and 5 of them came in that last game. And he had a nice little 0 goose egg turnover game in the middle there. And I almost and I'm curious how you feel about this. I almost felt like he was playing too slow, which is usually the opposite problem of what you have with rookies, where, it very much felt like, first off, with summer league, what matters is that the guy looks like he can play. Like, we'd agree that Anthony Black can play. Like, he can play a little bit. He did not look overwhelmed, did not look out of place on the court for this team. And so to me, that's a summer league success. Like, he looked like he could play. He defended really well. We didn't even get into his defense. But the way he controlled the pace of the game, I thought was really, really, really impressive. And honestly, like I said, I almost felt like he played too slow. Like, he was probing too much. He was just kind of dribbling around, and I was waiting for him to explode to the basket or hit the gas late and get to the basket or get all the way there. And I think to that point, if he'd done that, maybe those shots come off a little cleaner. Maybe he's thinking less about those shots. Maybe that's what he's missing. That ability to control the pace, though, just both with the pass, with the dribble, that's going to be really, really valuable. And I don't know about your perception of things. It did not look like anybody could speed him up. Like, it looked like he was just playing at the rate that he wanted to play at. And to do that at any level at his age, I think is really, really impressive.
Yeah, and a lot of his passes that resulted in those turnovers, I mean, box score watchers are going to go to town with those turnovers. But if you're watching that in live action, a lot of his turnovers were off really good reads that he made that either resulted in fumbles or when he was pushing. This is another negative aspect of his game I didn't really like much. When he's pushing the break on offense, I want him to attack the rim. I don't want him to look to pass first. A lot of those first game passes against the Pistons, I remember he had one where he found Caleb Houston in the corner, but Caleb happened to be out of bounds on the 3-point line, and that resulted in a turnover. He kept passing to Kevon Harris, who's just a tank in transition. But I wanted him to be more aggressive in facilitating his own shot, getting that 6'7" frame to the rim and attacking the basket in transition, as opposed to primarily becoming a pass first guard only, especially because it's summer league and I wanted him to get those reps in.
Yeah, for sure. And look, like, he's gonna get more comfortable. And I think that was a big chunk of what we saw. And look, he had 17 points in that first game. It wasn't like he wasn't scoring. I think he averaged 11 per game in over the 3 games or something like that. So like and on top of that, like, he was aggressive. I agree he needed to be more aggressive attacking the basket. I think he did defer to passing a little bit too much, but he was, by game 3, he was exploring his shot a little bit and exploring what he could do off the dribble a little bit. And, I'm a big believer in summer league. You find out the limits of a player as much as you find out what they can do. And so, maybe there need to be some guardrails for him for his rookie year and figure things out. Before we move off of Anthony Black, then, where do you see his fit with this team? I'm a big believer that with the Magic, and maybe we'll save this conversation for later on today. I'm a big believer with the Magic that versatility is not necessarily about positional versatility. It's skill versatility. It's having a Paolo Banchero who can be a great passer, but Anthony Black certainly has that positional versatility. A lot of us are expecting him to play some 3, see a lot of 2-guard lineups, a lot of 3-guard lineups. Where do you see Anthony Black fitting in with all the things that he can do? Where does he fit in with this main roster as now we look ahead to October?
Kind of singing the same note that you just sung of positionless basketball. When he got drafted, immediately the first thing that came up to everyone's mind is what happens with Cole Anthony? What happens with Jalen Suggs? Because immediately everyone just becomes so succumbed to the fact that he's a point guard. So there's immediately this log jam at the guard position. When, technically he is a point guard, but he's also 6'7", and all those guards, Markelle Fultz, Anthony Black, Jalen Suggs, Cole Anthony, they're all point guards, but they all have different contributions to the game, despite being labeled a point guard. I think Anthony Black and Markelle Fultz kind of have similar games where they're both floor generals. They're both lead guards in the NBA who can facilitate your offense on a nightly basis, who can push the pace, which is a big component of Jamal Mosley's mission statement. Whereas Jalen Suggs is more of your defensive anchor, and Cole Anthony is that spark plug off the bench who gives you microwave scoring in bunches, honestly. But and I'm not really too concerned about Cole Anthony or Jalen Suggs being gone. But where Anthony Black fits in necessarily, I think he fits in a variety of ways. We kind of saw the defensive assonance that he portrayed in the Indiana game. I remember that one play. Indiana was running an elbow split action, and the play was designed for Andrew Nembhard. Anthony Black came over, tags the slipper. Indiana resets with a pick and roll with Benedict Mathurin and Oscar, and so Anthony Black's man was on the weak side corner, and Black doesn't travel to the weak side corner because Benedict isn't really a passer out of pick and rolls. So he just came over and he just disrupted and boxed out Oscar. I'm not sure what his last name was.
Shibwe? No.
Yeah, he has a big last name, and I'm not even going to try to pronounce it.
Okay, let's not try. It's Summer League.
Yeah. Yeah, Oscar, and he got Caleb Houston the rebound. So I just think he's such an impactful player that can facilitate, can defend, can crash the glass. We saw that tip in off the Jett Howard miss. He also averaged the most rebounds on the team for the summer league, despite only playing 3 games. I think it was at 8.7 rebounds per game. So I think he just contributes in so many ways that I don't think it really matters. I just don't think he or Markelle Fultz can share the floor at the same time, however.
Yeah, the shooting thing is obviously going to be the big thing. And I'm getting a little bit of heat for a take I had on my podcast on Monday, where I said I think Jett Howard might have a more impactful rookie year. So I will amend that a little bit and say Jett Howard is probably more playoff ready than Anthony Black is at this point because of that shooting weakness. But we'll get into kind of some of the bigger philosophies about this team as they prepare for the 2024 season. Let's take a quick break from our conversation so I can tell you a little bit about our friends from PrizePicks. Look, daily fantasy games are hard. I've played a bunch of daily fantasy games, and a lot of times I'm going into these massive pools, and I know if I'm lucky, I'll get my money back. If I'm lucky, I'll just get $1 back from a $3 game or whatever it is. PrizePicks is not like any of those games. There's no playing with these massive player pools. There's no confusing scoring system. It's simply, is he going to score more or less than the projected numbers? It's just you versus the numbers. That's really all you can ask for from a fantasy game. So straightforward and frankly, so easy to win. All you have to do is pick 2 to 6 players. And if they go on to score more or less than their PrizePicks projections, whatever you project, you can win up to 25 times your money on any entry. There's no competing against other people. It's just you versus the projections available. PrizePicks offers projections on any sport that you watch, including the WNBA, NFL, which of course is coming up soon, PGA with the FedEx Cup playoffs coming up, soccer, and so much more. Entries can be made in 60 seconds or less. It's really that easy. They offer safe and fast withdrawals. They're currently in operation in more than 30 states, including Florida as well as Canada. Download the PrizePicks app or go to prizepicks.com to sign up and play daily fantasy sports today. First-time users can receive a 100% instant deposit match of up to $100 with promo code LOCKEDON. If you deposit $100, PrizePicks will give you $100. If you deposit $50, PrizePicks will give you $50. Don't forget to enter promo code LOCKEDON and sign up for an instant deposit match of up to $100. Let's move on then to Jett Howard. Let's go with him. What did you see from Jett Howard? Obviously the shooting stands out, but what else stood out about Jett Howard from the summer league run that you saw that will help this Magic team grow?
I think the value he brings is immeasurable thanks to the floor spacing he provides for not only himself, but Paolo Banchero and Franz Wagner. I mean, any superstar needs space to operate. You see how the Milwaukee Bucks are kind of formation. They always have multiple guys in transition. They kind of play a 4-out, 1-in offense with Joe Ingles on the corner, Chris Middleton on another corner, Pat Connaughton, Brook Lopez, all guys who are stationary, catch and shoot, and pull-up shooters, and guys who can move off screens to create gravity for easy looks elsewhere. I mean, shooting, this is no surprise, but shooting has been at the center of the offensive boom over the past 15 years. So as far as I'm concerned, there's no secret. I mean, you need long-range gunners to win, especially this Orlando Magic team in specific. You kind of look at it dating back in time, and three-point shooting always seems to be a problem. But the biggest thing for me was finding versatility in Jett Howard's game. We already knew that he was a three-point shooter, but I wanted to personally see what counter moves he has. And he showed really good flashes of that side step, the one dribble pull up when he's chased off the line. He also did really good on screens, handoffs, and I'll give him bonus points for taking those actions and getting into the lane and making the right play. And kind of singing the same note that we sung earlier. I'm not really sure what his assist numbers look like in the summer league, but I was extremely impressed with his passing skills, his distribution skills. And that doesn't jump out on the box score because, again, a lot of those players fumbled or they resulted in turnovers because of slip passes. But I was very intrigued with his passing ability.
Yeah, and I mean, obviously, like the Jett Howard conversation and the Jett Howard debate was very much about, was this the right pick? Because so few mock drafts had him going that way. And honestly, if you look at his college tape, a lot of the things that we saw in Summer League didn't pop out on his college tape. He was not an active defender. And I will say this, there are probably still some areas where Jett Howard needs to improve defensively. I'm not going to sit here and say he's a stopper yet, but he was a lot more engaged and energetic defensively in Summer League. And I thought the way you could use him was first off, we know this Magic team loves size. So, the Summer League team was weird because it lacked size. There was 3 players taller than 6'10" on the Summer League team: DJ Wilson, Robert Baker, Kai Soto. We just got 2,000 more hits because I said Kai Soto. But the next tallest players on the roster were 6'8" Caleb Houston and 6'8" Jett Howard. So the Magic, I think part of what they were doing in Summer League was experimenting a little bit with playing smaller And you can't do that with a Grady Dick. Grady Dick isn't going to guard fours. You certainly can't do that. I like Jordan Hawkins a lot too. 6'6" guy, you're not going to be able to do that with a Jordan Hawkins. And so I think the Magic ultimately, again, versatility is such a big thing. And we're going to talk more about versatility a little bit later on in our conversation, for sure. But like Jett Howard's versatility is probably what edged him ahead of those other shooters. The Magic were taking a shooter at 11. The question was, what other skills did they value in that? And I agree, in Vegas, yeah, we saw Jett Howard shoot, and he shot the ball well, and he was certainly not afraid to let it fly, and that's a good thing. But what stood out to me is that the other skills that he brought to the table. He was a better passer than we expected. I think he was better. Do I want him driving to the basket all the time? No, because he's probably not there with that yet. But he can do it.
I'm glad you said that. I'm glad you said that because his free throws. I mean, free throws aren't always on the forefront of people's minds. It's not the most exciting thing to watch in the game. But free throws are a lot like football field goals. It's arguably the easiest points in the game. But unfortunately for Jett Howard, it's a place he's actually struggled to get to, not only in college, but in summer league as well. In the 5 of the last 11 games in college, he didn't attempt a single free throw. And out of 39 field goal attempts in the summer league, he only got to the line one time. And
I think was it one total free throw, because there was a technical free throw
there was a technical free throw, which is the one he missed. But
yeah,
I'm talking about when he drew the whistle.
Okay.
And he only drew the whistle one time, and he buried both free throws. But it's a place where I want to see him go more often, because in that first game, his shot wasn't there. He was struggling in his debut, and he didn't attack the rim at all. I want him to get to the line. That's what shooters do when your shot's not falling. And Paolo Banchero, not a lot of rookies are as good as Paolo Banchero at getting to the line. And when his shot wasn't falling, he was easily able to bully his way and get to the charity stripe and get those points. And it just generates easier buckets for you down the stretch of games.
Yeah. And like the free throw shooting is a really good point too, because like last year, the Magic couldn't make threes, and their math, their pathway to playing was, we're going to beat you on free throw attempts. We're going to make up the 3-pointers that we can't hit at the foul line. And, you look at Paolo Banchero, he scored 20 points per game. First non-center to score 20 points per game in a Magic uniform since Steve Francis in 2005. He did not shoot the ball well. The whole debate about the rookie of the year was that Paolo Banchero is not efficient. Well, he still got to 20 points per game because he got all those free points at the free throw line. And look, saying anyone needs to be the Paolo Banchero level of free throw shooter, that's something that usually does not go away. Like, I think we can bet on Paolo Banchero getting 7 or 8 free throw attempts per game again next year. He is going to force his way to the line. And if he's more efficient with his shot, all of a sudden, if he shot 41, 42%, if he's up at 45, 46%, that's probably 2 or 3 more field goal attempts. All of a sudden he's averaging 26, 27 points per game. That's a much different kind of player. And so to that point, like, yes, the rest of the team, I think, has to get better at getting the foul line to make up for some of their deficiencies elsewhere. And I think that is someplace Jett can get. I don't know if I want Jett Howard like kind of foraying into the lane so much. Like, I want him doing, maybe a pump fake, two dribble pull up. I want him doing, maybe pump fake, lean into the defender, draw the 3-point foul. Sidestep threes. That's kind of where I think his role is going to be limited his rookie year. But what I was really impressed with from Jett in summer league was that so much of what he did felt like that's exactly what the Magic are going to ask him to do in the regular season. Like, when he's playing a lot, when he's coming off a Wendell Carter or Mo Wagner's screen or Goga Batadze's screen, it's not going to be any different than him coming off a screen from Robert Baker. The only difference it'll be Jalen Suggs passing him the ball instead of Tiger Campbell or Dexter Dennis or whoever. That's, to me, the fact that it's so replicable, that's exactly the kind of thing he's going to see in the regular season. To me, that's what made his summer league that much more impressive to me.
Yeah, and the Magic added 2 shooters this offseason, Jett Howard and Joe Ingles. And I always thought Jett Howard was more of a catch and shooter, just like Joe Ingles. But in summer league, he actually displayed his creation skills. A lot of his 3-point made buckets actually came from live dribble pull-ups instead of those stationary catch and shoot threes that Joe Ingles excels on. So I thought it was a really good thing for Jett Howard to be making those self-creation baskets for himself, especially because those screens weren't necessarily as good as they're going to be from a Wendell Carter Jr. screen, a Moritz Wagner screen. So I think having shooters is a good thing, but having components of shooters adds versatility to this offense, which will enhance the offensive play.
Yeah, I mean, undoubtedly, like, shooting was such a big thing and such a big need for this Magic team coming into this season. But when you look, you mentioned Joe Ingles a little bit. He's the big free agent signing of the offseason. The Magic added 3 new players to the team, the 2 rookies, Joe Ingles. We mentioned him a little bit already as a catch and shoot option. What is the impact that Joe Ingles is going to bring to this team and the way that they attack offensively?
Yeah, I mean, oftentimes when Paolo Banchero was driving to the cup, and this was often displayed against the Memphis Grizzlies and the Milwaukee Bucks defensively, teams are just completely sinking everyone down low, blitzing every single person on the low block, and really daring the Magic to beat them from spray out threes. And unfortunately for the Magic, that was just season-long struggle for them. And adding a catch and shooter like Joe Ingles, who not only excels on catch and shoots, but also pull up jumpers. And oftentimes in the 2-man game, I actually wrote an article about this, the Markelle Fultz, Wendell Carter Jr. 2-man game that the Orlando Magic went to a lot of throughout the course of the season. But we didn't really see a lot of 2-man actions when the bench was coming in. So I think Joe Ingles coming off the bench and having those 2-man actions with Moritz Wagner or a Goga Bitadze just adds so many different components to the offensive playbook alongside Anthony Black, assuming Jalen Suggs' shot improves as it was throughout the latter end of the season. There's just so many different endless possibilities that adding a veteran, a distributor, a defender of Joe Ingles' caliber really does to your offense and defense.
Yeah. And honestly, like, I think that's kind of an underrated part of what the Magic are getting in Joe Ingles. Like, I say this about ACL injuries all the time. It takes a year to recover to get back on the court. It takes another full year to recover kind of where you were. And Ingles is 35, so he may not be what he was completely before the ACL injury, but last year was his full year back on the court. So now he is I think he even told an Australian reporter out at Summer League about this, that, he feels better than he's felt since the injury right now. So the Magic could be getting a very good version of Joe Ingles. And, like, look, even if he's just a spot up shooter, like, I know we all point this out, like, imagine that's Joe Ingles in the corner instead of a Caleb Houston, who maybe doesn't have the respect as a shooter, or instead of, even Gary Harris probably creates some gravity, but instead of like a Jalen Suggs, like, having that shooter is going to make that low man not be so low or not be as far over to allow those driving lanes and allow those finishes at the rim, or allow those, even honestly, even a great shooter. And I think Ingles is a really good passer as well, is a fantastic passer. He makes good decisions. Even having him as an outlet who can draw the defense to him when he catches the ball and kick it out to the perimeter to, Cole Anthony's a solid shooter. I think he really came on strong late in the season, but having a Joe Ingles who could swing a pass to Cole Anthony for a better catch and shoot shot than he's probably gotten at any point in his career. There are things that like numbers can't track. And that's the quality of a pass, I think, is a really big factor too. Like, getting a pass that's like right in your shooter's pocket that you're not bobbling allows you to get right into your rhythm. Like, these guys are good shooters. Like they're in the NBA. They're not like awful shooters. They can make open shots, but maybe the conditions need to be exactly right. And I think, like, adding a veteran like Joe Ingles is going to create more of those kind of positive shot attempts or more of those positive pass attempts to get guys open or get guys rhythm jumpers more, or, get guys, attacking down, pass it that allows them to attack downhill rather than a pass that they have to fumble, stop, make sure they have possession that allows the defense to catch up to them. It's little things like that really, really matter. And I think that's part of kind of the larger mission statement of the season. So, before we, we'll get to this in part 2, kind of like bigger picture stuff, but like, the goal for the Magic again this year is to level up. Anthony Parker said it on the radio. Jeff Weltman, I believe, said it at exit interviews that the goal for this team is to play better basketball. Let's just keep using Jamal Mosley's phrase of leveling up because it's just nice and succinct and doesn't get ridiculed for being like, well, duh. What does leveling up for this team look like? And do you feel with the offseason additions they've made that the Magic have indeed leveled up?
Yeah. So leveled up to me looks like, first of all, I'll kind of speak to it defensively first. We kind of saw it 57 games. I'm not going to, excluding the 5-20 start that they had when most of their players were injured, when they were being befuddled by injuries. That 57 games to close out the season, the Magic were sixth. We're sixth in their defensive rating. So I think just kind of picking up from where you left off, adding, like you said, underrated defender like Jett Howard, adding Anthony Black, who was a disruptor in summer league, adding an underrated defender in Joe Ingles, who's seen multiple coverages and offensive schemes throughout his. I don't even know how long he's played in the NBA.
He's been around. He's 35. He's the old man on the team.
Yeah. So I think that just adds to it defensively, and then offensively, just adding shooters not only provides a spark that wasn't there last season, but adding more shooters to the Magic will be beneficial in more ways than one, because it's a way to expand an offensive playbook is by focusing on actions that make up specific plays to generate open three-point shooters, as opposed to the transition and run and gun stuff that we saw the Orlando Magic do this past season. And I know Paolo Banchero alluded to this on a podcast that he was on after the season was over, but he said that a lot of their three-pointers came from transitional opportunities, just kicking out to shooters in the corner. So I think having an emphasis on the playbook and really generating your shooters open, like running plays for them, not just kind of having them stationed and on either side of the corners, is just such a dynamic that we see the Warriors do, we see the Lakers do, we saw the Heat do it on their way to the finals despite being a bad three-point shooting team throughout the regular season. So just having that dynamic flow just adds so much to the offense.
Yeah, and like to me, like so much of what makes a successful offense is, can you put the defense in compromising positions? Like Paolo Banchero is very much a self-generator, because just by him driving or putting him on the block, the mid post, he's gonna find a way to create contact and force the referee to call a foul. He's so big, and he's such a smart decision maker for players so young and for players his size. He's gonna find ways to put some stress on the defense. And like he said, like having plays specifically designed to get 3-pointers with good 3-point shooters, that opens up a lot of things too. Because if you're running an action to get, Jett Howard an open three, and the defenses, and I know I say this a lot, this is why Terrence Ross had value, even though he was like a 33% 3-point shooter. Your ability as a 3-point shooter is not necessarily about your ability to make threes. It's about how much the defense thinks you can make threes. Like what I'm really excited about with Jett Howard, for instance, is Jett Howard looks like he's the kind of guy that could have a 4 or 5 3-pointer game off the bench and nail a couple threes and get, like we saw with Terrence Ross in 2019, 2020, get the defense like worried and concerned. And all of a sudden in transition, they're making sure that a guy is going out to Jett Howard, and that opens up a lane for Wendell Carter to run the middle, or Paolo Banchero to run the middle, or for Franz Wagner to get past his man, do his thing and get to the basket. Doing these plays and creating these actions just puts the defense, makes the defense commit more attention to these guys. And then all of a sudden, like, let's say it's a Franz Wagner pick and roll with a Jett Howard action to come up and get a handoff. All of a sudden the defense has all those guys, and Franz Wagner, 6'10", he could fire a pass down low to a rolling center, to a cutting Paolo. Like that, you have all these opportunities with all the flexibility and versatility on this team to make things happen. That's going to do it for part 1 of our episode with Fawzan. We're going to have him on again tomorrow. We're going to dive a little bit deeper into the Orlando Magic playbook. What is the identity that Jamal Mosley is going for? What is the kind of Jamal Mosley thesis statement? We're getting into all that on tomorrow's episode of Locked On Magic. So I want to thank Fawzan for coming on and giving me 2 days of content worth of episodes. I find all this playbook stuff fascinating. It's definitely a place where you explain it to me, I get it, but definitely a place that I would like to learn a whole lot more. And there's a lot of great resources online, including from Fawzan, to study this stuff and really learn what the Magic are trying to do. But I want to thank you all again for making Locked On Magic part of your day every day. Remember, there's a great Locked On podcast covering every single team in the NBA, but you can find us and subscribe to us wherever you download podcasts, whether it's Stitcher, TuneIn, Himalaya, Google Play, Spotify, Odyssey, or wherever you download podcasts to your podcast-enabled listening device. For the latest on the Orlando Magic, be sure to check out OrlandoMagicDaily.com. You can follow us on Twitter at OMagicDaily, and of course, follow me on Twitter at PhilipRR_OMD. Be sure to tune in tomorrow. We'll have part 2 of our conversation with Fawzan. But until then, for Orlando Magic Daily and Locked On Magic, this has been Philip Rossman-Reich. We'll see you all again next time for another episode of Locked On Magic.